Well, my favourite death, very difficult to choose, and in a sense it's not really a death, because when Lear brings Cordelia on in his arms, in a reverse pieta where the old man holds his youngest child dead in his arms, is incredibly poignant, I find. And he's howling at fate, he's howling at the temporal forces of the world that have brought about her death. It's incredibly unnatural for the child to die before the father. And when he comes in, he is bemoaning that this has happened, and then several lines on he has this little glimmer of hope that she might actually be alive, and he's looking for her breath on a glass. It's absolutely heartbreaking, I find.
Yeah, it's one of those gut-punching moments in any production of King Lear, isn't it? For me, I always come back to Mercutio's death in Romeo and Juliet, because I think it's such a futile death. It's such a pointless, miserable end to such a vibrant, exciting character, and it surprises the audience from the point in the play at which it comes. And that his final words when he says, "A plague on both your houses," you know, you always wonder how many young men who've been killed in conflict or died under violent circumstances too young, you know, must have thought similarly bleak, empty thoughts in their final moments. And for me, it's a very powerful moment and a powerful death.
I was going to choose Lear's as well, where he says never, 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 never. I mean, it is absolutely wonderful, the repetition of that word, the iambic pentameter stretched to its limit. It's remarkably powerful, but I didn't choose that. My favourite death is Othello's, for so many reasons, but his killing of himself, and the particular method of that death, where he asks for a sword of Spain, and that was an early form of brand recognition by Shakespeare. His audience would have known that conveyed status. It was a Toledo blade, and that had authenticity as well, and I think that was key to Othello's death. He wanted to remind us about his importance, about his status. It also sort of aligns himself once more with his Moorish background, with the scimitar, the sword, and his own death. So I think what is so memorable about that is that Shakespeare asks us to think about reputation, and how with death we also are looking to the past, but also looking to the future and how we want to be remembered. It is quite an extraordinary last final speech by Othello, where he describes killing the turbaned Turk, which is somebody outside himself, but also himself. He kills both the outsider and himself with one blow.
But don't you find in that same play, you know, because I entirely agree with what you've said about Othello's death, but in the same play, in the same scene, you have a really problematic death, which is Desdemona's, which stretches credibility so much it almost spoils the play.
It doesn't,
because she's strangled, throttled and seemingly dead, and then comes back to life for a few more lines, which is ludicrous.
It is ludicrous, but it's sort of redeemed by then Emilia's death.
Yes.
In the same scene, where she's so powerful. You know, she calls Othello filthy, as ignorant as filth. It's an extraordinarily powerful speech where she stands up to that masculine world, and she articulates just how stupid he's been, just how idiotic, and she's silenced by her husband, who just has to smother her words. The final scenes are incredibly moving, very powerful.
And how effectively do you think Othello writes his own obituary?
Well, it's revisionist. He neatly doesn't really mention the fact that he's just killed Desdemona, apart from saying he's thrown a pearl away. But it's all about him, and it's all about his reputation. And you know, it's also got Iago there, who has refused to speak and refused to die.
But torments will ope his lips, they say.
That's to come.
Which we don't get to see.
No,
and that's the bravery and the brilliance of Shakespeare, isn't it? Is that he doesn't give us that final. We all want Iago to get his comeuppance, and he's left standing. He's left standing around all those bodies, all those victims.
Yeah. enigmatic to the end.
Yes, yeah.